Week 9 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 defense DST units. I'm ranking this week number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. So this week a decent matchup with Tampa Bay coming to town. We know Mike Evans, he's out a couple more weeks. Chris Godwin out for the season. And Baker Mayfield, he's been a good quarterback, no doubt about it this season. But he's obviously dealing with a lot of injuries on that offense. And he does throw a lot of interceptions to begin with. So Monday night, Arrowhead Stadium. We know this Chiefs defense has been great this season, better than their offense. And I think this week, once again, they go out there, get a couple sacks on Baker, cause a few turnovers, and hold this Buck team mid-teens, low 20s, number 2, the New Orleans Saints. So a good matchup at the Carolina Panthers. We know the Panthers traded away Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. That's another big weapon off this offense. And it looks like Bryce Young will start once again. And even if he does it, I think New Orleans could get to Andy Dalton early and often in this ball game as well. So Carolina, one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in all pro football. And this Saint defense at times had some good outings. So this week, in a favorable matchup, I like them having a nice game. Number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles, good matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're banged up. Christian Kirk out for the season. Broken collarbone. Brian Thomas not 100% with a rib injury. We'll see if he plays in this ball game or not. In Philadelphia, the last couple weeks, their defense is buckled down. They're getting sacks on the quarterback, and they're holding opponents' points down. So this week back home, Philadelphia has a good outing. Number 4, the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings, I'm still big on them, even though last week they got torched by Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyron Williams. But this week, a better matchup, obviously, with Indianapolis coming to town on Sunday Night Football. So Joe Flacco's in there, quarterback, where Anthony Richardson just hasn't done anything. And to be honest, I think Joe Flacco's an upgrade for this offense for the Indianapolis Colts over Anthony Richardson. But still, you could create turnovers on Joe Flacco. He's not a mobile quarterback at all, where if you get a hand on him, he's going to take a sack. And he's a gunslinger as well, where turnovers will be in play. Number 5, Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals is a 1-week streaming option. Have possibly one of the best matchups you could have all year versus the Vegas Raiders. They're banged up on the offensive line. Obviously, Devontae Adams, they traded off a few weeks ago to the New York Jets. And Gardner Minshew is just not a good quarterback, where he's turning the football over a lot and taking some sacks. So Cincinnati, with their season on the brink, no, they need this ball game, and the defense has to play better. After last week, the Philadelphia Eagles came in and scored for 37 points in that game. Number 6, Baltimore Ravens. As a 1-week top of the ranking type of defense, I think Baltimore could go out there and have a good game. I know Denver has played well over the last few weeks. Bo Nix has looked well and improving in his rookie season. But Baltimore, they're going to get to the quarterback a few times in this game. After last week losing in an upset ball game at Cleveland, I think this defense is going to take more pride to get some stops. And also Denver, if you can make them one-dimensional and get this running game out of the pitch and force Bo Nix to try to beat you, and if you get off to an early lead like this Baltimore Raven offense can, it can make Denver one-dimensional, and that's where the defense could start teeing off. Number 7, the Los Angeles Chargers. They've been a decent unit this season, is Los Angeles. This week, a pretty decent matchup at Cleveland, but to be honest, I think this Cleveland offense is better with Jameis Winston at quarterback over, obviously, Deshaun Watson, who's out for the season with the torn Achilles. So the Chargers, they've been getting to the quarterback. They've been holding opponents down in the mid-teens, low 20s all season long. And this week, I think Los Angeles, once again, could go out there, have a solid performance. Number 8, the Washington Commanders. So the Commanders is a streaming option, a good matchup at the Giants. Even though we know the Giants have good weapons, Malik Neighbors, Wendell Robinson, Tyrone Tracy, when he did play before he got hurt with the concussion. But Washington, they've been playing great football all season long, 6-2 on the season. And we know Daniel Jones, he just can't find the end zone this year pretty much, especially at home in MetLife Stadium. So I think Washington goes in there, they hold them down to a decent point rate. And we saw last week versus a pretty good Bear offense, they held them down for the most part. Number 9, Tennessee Titans. So the Titans is a 1-week streaming option, a good matchup versus the Patriots with Jacoby Brissett, quarterback for New England, most likely with Drake May in concussion protocol. In Tennessee, they get to the quarterback. I know the last 2 weeks they got destroyed by the Buffalo Bills, and obviously 52 points to the Lions last week. But obviously, this New England offense is nowhere near those teams offensively. So I think Tennessee gets back to the basics in this one. They've been better at home than they've been on the road defensively. And this week is a streaming option. I like them versus the Patriots. Number 10, New England Patriots staying in the same game. So Tennessee, one of the worst offenses in the league. We'll see if it's Mason Rudolph or Will Levis in this game. Calvin Ridley looked good last week, no doubt about it. Tony Pollard has been a solid running back. But this offense isn't scary, and they're turning the football over and taking a lot of sacks all season long is Tennessee. So last week, where I thought Patriots did a decent job versus a pretty good New York Jet offense, holding them to 22 points and creating some turnovers and getting some sacks. I think this week at Tennessee, they're an okay unit. Number 11, the Chicago Bears. So Chicago, defensively, they've been pretty solid for the most part this season, even though last week, with a bad lapse in the back of the end zone, losing on a Hail Mary at the buzzer, Washington Commanders. And this week, not a great matchup at Arizona, but we know Arizona has good weapons: James Conner, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. But Chicago, they get to the quarterback and they create turnovers, and Kyler Murray, some weeks he just has those bad games. I think Chicago could get pressure in this game. I thought they did a decent job for the most part versus Jaden Daniels, and I think a similar type of game plan we could see from them in Arizona this week versus Kyler Murray, who's a similar type of quarterback like a Jaden Daniels in terms of running the football and the scheme of the offense. And the 12th and final defense DST I'm ranking is the Buffalo Bills. So I know this Miami team's healthy. Tua is back. Devon Achane's 100% healthy. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. But this Miami offense, last week they had some lapses and turned the football over at times as well. So Buffalo, they're playing great football. 6-2 on the season. Defense is getting healthier, and their offense is making it easier for their defense to make offenses one-dimensional and start teeing off. So we know too, with the last few seasons on the road, his numbers haven't been all that great. And this Buffalo defense has had success versus Tua, and this offense as well at times. So right now, this week, I think Buffalo is a back-end option. Could be decent for fantasy owners. So that's the top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking for week 9 of the fantasy football season.